Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, across our beautiful country of Canada, our friends around the world in the known and unknown universe. Welcome back to your favorite Angry Canadian on the 6th day of May 2024. Oh, there's no stopping time. That's a bitch, isn't it? But I've seen a lot of videos in the last couple of days, and I'm going to put up excerpts of them in this video because what's happening in the world is beyond belief. And very soon, with all the Western governments coming down on social media, on freedom of speech, a lot of this kind of presentations will be gone. By presentations, I mean there's one by Dr. Campbell, and he's showing Bill Gates at TED Talk, talking about having more vaccines and having the ability to make vaccines around the world and getting everyone vaccinated, and maybe even coming out with a vaccine that can wipe out diseases like common cold. There'd be no more common cold. He's got all these brainiac ideas.
Making the mRNA is really easy and really cheap, and that's the magic of this thing. But there's no doubt in the next 5 years, we can, we just need to mess around. There's a lot of lipid nanoparticles, and some are very self-assembling. There's no inherent reason it's not thermostable, it's not cheap, and it's not scalable. And so, as over the 5 years, we fix that part of it, mature it, which is very typical, we'll be able to build factories worldwide that can make $2 vaccines with even less lead time than we've had to have here during this pandemic. And we'll use those, as you suggest. For every disease that we don't have vaccines, we will try mRNA. In fact, for HIV, we have multiple ways. One that's more of a B-cell approach, one that's more of a T-cell approach. For malaria, we have multiple ideas. For TB, we have multiple ideas. And so to fill in the missing vaccines, we'll make a lot of our bets of the Gates Foundation and others who care about global health will be mRNA focused.
And then there's Israel, who has a right for self-defense. It doesn't matter who the hell they blow up, how many they kill. And there are some really amazing videos out there made by Israeli troops.
There has been a remarkable number of videos posted by Israeli soldiers on social media depicting themselves pillaging property, mocking the death and destruction that they are causing, and most egregiously torturing, humiliating, and mocking detained Palestinian prisoners.
ברח לו פיפי.
The images of mass arrests, of torture of Palestinians, of numbering their bodies, which is reminiscent of images all of us have seen from Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib. These images are testament to what Palestinians have long been saying, which is that this settler colonial regime is utterly violent.
Celebrating their war and what they're doing and all that stuff. I'm going to be putting the excerpts or maybe even whole segments of these videos in this because people have to see it. You have to become aware, because what we're going to be facing, and we face it already in Trudeau's Canada, is an end of freedom of speech, freedom to know things, and to a great extent, I know I'm going off topic now, it has to do a lot with mainstream media. As a matter of fact, in my mind and conspiracy world, if anyone real got into power, the first thing to do is celebrate freedom of press by putting the media on trial. Yeah, they got freedom of press, but not freedom to lie, distort, and to put stuff out to take people in a special direction that they want, i.e., Ukraine. Oh, we gotta go to war, man. You know, war is horrible. And Russia, you know, I mean, that Putin woke up in the morning and attacked Ukraine. I mean, what is wrong with him? He's an international war criminal, you know. And we got to protect democracy in Ukraine. And if that costs billions, and if that war has to go on forever, well, that's just the way it goes. You know, get used to it. As a matter of fact, you know, we've had our media and our politicians supporting the war, you know, supporting what's happening because it's against Russia. And, you know, Russians are bad. Russia is evil. Russia is part of the axis of evil with Iran and North Korea and all these countries. Stop. Before I go any further, you know, last couple of videos I've had to do with immigration. And Canada is a very big welcoming country for immigrants. Oh, Trudeau's opened the floodgates. And, you know, a lot of people will say, yes, well, we have, look how big Canada is. I mean, it's such a small population. I mean, shit. We could pump another 10, 20, 50, 100 million people in this country. And you know what that would do? Increase our economy. Because there'd have to be houses built, roads, schools, all kinds of stuff would have to be prepared for all the immigrants. And we've got to welcome them with open arms. Now, we have a lot of Canadians who have worked pretty well all their life. And now in retirement, something like me, they want to go and enjoy the beauty of our country, going to parks and enjoying nature and what Canada is famous for. And to do that, our beloved government has made passes to national parks for seniors and younger people half price. Holy shit, half price. Can you imagine that? I mean, how can they do that? But now, when it comes to immigration, you might not want to believe this, but Canada is allowing new immigrants to camp, visit our parks, everything for free. Free. Now, they just arrive in Canada, the immigrants, and they can do things for free. Aside of that, they get lodging, food, healthcare, education, everything, which is denied to a lot of Canadians. You know, I'm a senior, and there's a lot of seniors in Canada. Our population is aging. Well, if you want to go to a national park, you will have to pay. Now, admittedly, it's half price, but you still have to fucking pay. And if you're a working person, say like in Alberta on the oil sands, or a farmer, or whatever job you do, and you got a family and you're looking forward to getting away in the summer on a little holiday, maybe, you know, take the kids to a national park, do some fishing, walking, exploring, loving nature, sitting around a fire, doing marshmallows or hot dogs, whatever you want to do, you have to pay to enjoy that. Immigrants, new immigrants, don't have to pay dick. They don't have to pay anything. Somebody tell me how that is fair. Somebody tell me how that makes sense. And somebody tell me what the hell our government is thinking and who they're looking after. So I just looked over. Ralphie came in. He was outside now. I tend to leave the door ajar so he can come in and out at his own wish. So that's one of the big stories. Not Ralphie, but the immigrants get to go to national parks free that Canadians have to pay for. Isn't that lovely? Now, somebody, what would I do? Well, I'd make it all free. Why do we have to pay to visit our national parks? But hey, dude, don't you get it? It costs money to look after those parks, and it takes a lot. They got to keep them clean and have the campgrounds and all this. Somebody's got to pay for it, and it's going to be our tax-paying Canadians. To which I say, why the hell have we given billions and billions of money to Ukraine, which is not a democratic country? No election in Ukraine. Zelensky's the head of the country, and it just stays out. No elections. Media is shut down. No freedom of press there because, well, they might say bad things about Zelensky and the Ukrainian government and its corruption. No, we give money to Ukraine while Canadians have to pay for camping. Oh, I loved it also when we put up all the immigrants, refugees they called, but I think they're economic immigrants, in hotels and motels that cost hundreds of millions of dollars across Canada. Now, I'm just saying hundreds of millions. I do know it was tens of millions. I mean, Toronto, in British Columbia, all over. Immigrants are put up or were put up in hotels, and that's just the way it was. And it wasn't just for a couple of nights while they get settled. It was for months at a time. So think about it. Free visits to national parks for new immigrants. Canadians pay for it. Even if you're a senior, you will pay half price, but you pay for it. Now, that's one of the stories. Now, another story had to do with Bill Gates. And he wants to see vaccine factories around the world making RNA vaccines for anything and everything, and doing it fast and in a volume that everybody can get vaccinated so they will live a pure life. I mean, can you imagine that all these diseases and all the vaccines that'll be coming out of these factories will never be sick? As a matter of fact, Bill Gates, and you're going to hear him say it, he even thinks that like common things like maybe cold can be cured by a vaccine and eliminated totally from our world.
Well, welcome to this talk. Now, I want to play you a video clip from a Mr. William Gates, and then we'll think about what he said.
Making the mRNA is really easy and really cheap, and that's the magic of this thing. But there's no doubt in the next 5 years, we just need to mess around. There's a lot of lipid nanoparticles, and some are very self-assembling. There's no inherent reason it's not thermostable, it's not cheap, and it's not scalable. And so as over the 5 years, we fix that part of it, mature it, which is very typical, we'll be able to build factories worldwide that can make $2 vaccines with even less lead time than we've had to have here during this pandemic. And we'll use those, as you suggest. For every disease that we don't have vaccines, we will try mRNA. In fact, for HIV, we have multiple ways, one that's more of a B cell approach, one that's more of a T cell approach. For malaria, we have multiple ideas. For TB, we have multiple ideas. And so to fill in the missing vaccines, we'll make a lot of our bets of the Gates Foundation and others who care about global health will be mRNA focused.
Well, quite an interesting talk. mRNA vaccines are easy and cheap, apparently. Well, you wouldn't think it was cheap from the prices being charged by certain manufacturers, pharmaceutical manufacturers at the moment, but we'll let that pass. But over the next 5 years, it looks like there's going to be a lot of money put into innovation of messenger ribonucleic acid technology. And lipid nanoparticles, he mentioned there, as far as I could hear, self-assembly. We're going to get self-assembly of these lipid nanoparticles. Now, quite what is going to self-assemble, I don't really know, and quite where it's going to self-assemble, we need a little more information on that. At the moment, I simply don't know. But this is scalable. This can be brought up to a massive scale with the maturation of the technology, scaling out to the whole world, worldwide factories, global domination, worldwide factories all over the place. Low lead time, in other words, they can identify something they'd like to make an mRNA vaccine for, and then they can make it really, really quite quickly. And they're going to have RNA for every disease we don't have vaccines for at the moment. Now, mentioning HIV, TB and malaria. Now, we could talk about vaccines that there are for all of these, but we will let that pass as well. But it looks like there's going to be a lot of innovation into these new vaccines. Now, as far as I know, Mr. Gates he's not a doctor, he's not a nurse, he's not a pharmacist. He's not a biomedical scientist, he's not a nurse, he's not a dentist, he's not a physiotherapist. He's none of these things. Now, I don't want to be unfair. He may have experience as a hospital porter or even a hospital gardener that I don't know about, but he has no qualifications in these matters. So let me know how comfortable you are with people self-appointing themselves to lead global research on these topics. So quite interesting new innovations coming along in the next 5 years. Let me know how comfortable you are with this type of global leadership that we seem to be enjoying at the moment. Let's have another clip.
When we look at vaccines, they were the miracle of this epidemic. They saved millions of lives, but they can be far better. We need to invent easier to deliver vaccines that are just a patch you put on your arm or something that you inhale. We need vaccines that actually block infections. In this case, there were lots of breakthrough infections. We need vaccines that are broad spectrum, so they work against most of the emerging variants, which we did not have this time. And we also need factories that are standing by so we can build enough vaccines for the entire world within 6 months and achieve far better equity. The vaccines can also do something that would be super helpful, which is to help us eradicate entire families of viruses. Innovative new vaccines used properly could get rid of the flu family, the coronavirus family. And there's a huge burden of those, even in non-pandemic years. And if we get rid of it, it can never cause a pandemic. And here's the best part of this. Even when we're not having an outbreak, these investments, like the Lamira, those new vaccines, they will make people healthier. They'll shrink the gap, the health equity gap, which is gigantic, between rich and poor countries. For example, we can detect more HIV cases and do a better job of treatment. We can reduce deaths from malaria. We can get more people high-quality care. And so this is not just a downer about how to stop things from getting worse, but also a chance to make things better. If we take the right steps, we can make COVID-19 the last pandemic, and we can build a healthier, more equitable world for everyone. Thank you.
COVID vaccines were miracles that saved millions of lives. I'm not quite sure what the data is for that, but let me know what you think. We need simpler vaccines that can be given via simpler routes to get vaccines into as many human beings as possible to block infection. We need factories for the entire world. We're thinking here on a global scale, carrying on a global scale. I mean, my personal view on this is that all mRNA lipid nanoparticle technology should be completely, a moratorium should be completely put on it until we know what the heck's going on, because at the moment I don't think we do, but Mr. Gates here is thinking about a vaccine factories for the entire world. You might find that idea completely terrifying.
Imagine all these diseases are gone. All these conditions like, a cold, a flu, whatever, gone. Oh man, I tell you, the governments and scientists and big pharma, oh, they're on our side and they're looking out for us. As a matter of fact, when the World Health Organization implements their global takeover, I'm sure us Canadians will love knowing that anytime they come out with a crisis, you and I and all of us will have to get vaccinated. And at that time, you're not going to have a choice of not doing it, like with the COVID. You won't have a choice. It's not going to be like you lose your job. You're going to lose everything. They will make sure you get vaccinated. And as a matter of fact, they're even thinking about how they can deliver vaccines easier and quicker. Maybe in a spray form, powder, maybe put into our food, maybe whatever they want. They can experiment on the global population, and we don't have politicians rising up and saying, not in fucking my world or my country. And we don't have the media exposing it, because media is on the side of big pharma, governments, and Bill Gates. I mean, Bill Gates, he's a billionaire and he knows all about vaccines and health and all this. I mean, he is a brilliant person. Well, first of all, Hollywood is a fan of Israel, of Jews, and wondering why is that? They're not a fan of Palestine or not a fan of anything except Israel. Israel has a right to do whatever the fuck it wants.
There has been a remarkable number of videos posted by Israeli soldiers on social media depicting themselves pillaging property, mocking the death and destruction that they are causing, and most egregiously torturing, humiliating, and mocking detained Palestinian prisoners.
הנה נוח'בה, אוי, מה קרה? ברח לו פיפי.
The images of mass arrests, of torture of Palestinians, of numbering their bodies, which is reminiscent of images all of us have seen from Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib. These images are testament to what Palestinians have long been saying, which is that this settler colonial regime is utterly violent. They show the nature through which this genocide is unfolding in the Gaza Strip. They also show the extreme brutality and torture, violence, utter disregard of human life, transforming these violent conducts into a spectacle to be viewed and watched on social media posts.
They lack specific intelligence about who actually might be Hamas, and because they lack intelligence, they therefore are rounding up everyone in order to hope to extract information through interrogation. The fact that they've been stripped to their underwear is, a manifestation of cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, which is also illegal in addition to torture. The fact that they're photographing these things, it's like trophy shots. What this depicts, I think, very vividly is dehumanization and torture. The idea that somebody can be just like their body is just being attacked, in their most vulnerable position. His hands are bound behind his back. He's lying face down, soldiers stepping on his face. In a sense, it epitomizes torture in general, purposefully harming someone who's in custody. That custodial relationship is a particularly vulnerable one where, the custodians have all the power and the prisoner, who is, in this case, not only on the ground and tied up, but completely powerless.
The images are showing us and telling us how central imprisonment or carceral practices are to this settler colonial regime. The torture, humiliation, and degrading conduct against Palestinians is not simply restricted to the Gaza Strip. There are also images and videos that have been circulating from the West Bank. Since October 7th, over 7,000 Palestinians have been detained, which is a number unheard of over the past decade.
And all the world is better than you. You are drunk and you are terrorists. So you can't make anything. All the world are with us, not with you. Yes, oh yes. I will stay there on my land. And you will go, I will stay here. Go from my land. Go from my land. Now.
Really unprecedented destruction of Palestinian homes, hospitals, mosques, universities, churches, schools, into entertainment videos. There's one video where Israeli soldiers are showing some residential homes that they've set on fire and attached a song.
This house is on fire.
There have been many, many images of Israeli soldiers who've ransacked Palestinian homes and confiscated their personal goods. One in particular is the red negligee that appears to be seen in so many Israeli videos where Israeli soldiers are mocking and advertising their very deliberate intrusion of the home of a Palestinian woman, the confiscation of her most intimate apparel, and flaunting that in a way that's definitely intended to be provocative and humiliating.
The videos further reinforce a discourse that is coming out of every sector of the Israeli official machinery, where all Palestinians are the enemy.
And you can see this on videos posted by Israeli troops of what they are doing and how they're doing it in Gaza to the Palestinians. It is a global crime. And do you think Trudeau or even Pierre Poilievre will talk about it or expose it or pull Canada away from it? You know, we're supporting apartheid. We're supporting genocide. We're supporting death and destruction of a nation, of people, all ages. We're supporting it. And why aren't Canadians rising up to the challenge and saying, not in my fucking country?
It's an extremely cynical moment for international law. It's an extremely devastating moment for the Palestinian people. There are rules under international law, and no matter which way you look at this, Israel is in violation of those rules.
As of the 7th of October, there is not one norm of international humanitarian law that has not been violated.
I never imagined that in my lifetime I would see a genocide taking place in real time before my eyes. The fact that it is being protected by most Western governments takes it to a level that I just never imagined would be possible.
I come to Israel with a single message. You're not alone. You are not alone.
Canada will always be a friend of Israel and defend its rights, including its right to exist.
And Israel has the right to defend itself. In fact, it has the duty to defend its people.
Israel hat das Recht, sich gegen diese barbarischen Angriffe zu verteidigen, seine Staatsbürger zu schützen und die Angreifer zu verfolgen.
La France reconnaît le droit d'Israël à se défendre et à protéger ses populations.
As your friend, we will stand with you in solidarity, we will stand with your people, and we also want you to win.
If one looks at our political leaders today and all of our mainstream politicians, they are the most mendacious, the most mediocre, the least talented group of politicians that I can remember during my almost 60 years on this earth. It is astonishing just how deeply corrupt materially and morally they are. Because many of them, be it through donations to their political parties, donations to them personally, donations to their organizations like the Labour Friends of Israel, the Conservative Friends of Israel, the Democratic Friends of Israel, the Republican Friends of Israel, and the multiple and myriad other organizations like that, they provide an extremely good living for that person and for those political parties.
Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to having a thorough discussion about where everybody goes from here.
Every day, in the depth and breadth of cooperation.
The West is intimately involved in Israel's genocidal campaign in Gaza. For months, we have seen U.S. officials affirm time and again that there are no red lines for Israel, using exactly that language, when of course we know that international law draws many red lines. And yet the U.S. has come out in stark opposition, granting Israel full authority to proceed and to create as much death and destruction as it sees fit.
It's America's battle.
I'm shocked by the lack of action of the international community. I'm shocked by the hands raised by the US ambassador in the Security Council voting against a ceasefire, vetoing a ceasefire. I'm shocked by the lack of action of principled states who need to take, again, a principled, concrete stand against this aberration and start thinking of sanctions.